Hi there, Stampers. It's Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. Welcome to today's live. Today we are working on a drapery fold card. And so this one goes in landscape and has the drapery all the way across. And I'm excited to show you how it's done today. Okay, so here is our card. And I mentioned that we're doing it landscape because in my Fun Fold book number 1, we did it kind of in a portrait and then did a pullback on it. So this is a little slightly different, but still a drapery fold. Okay, so we're going to start out with several pieces. We have a card base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then we're going to fold it this way. And then I have a piece of old olive that is 5 1/4 by 4. And it's going on to the Mossy Meadow card base. I pulled those colors from the designer series paper. This one is called Celebratory Sips, and it goes with the Cheers and Sips stamp set. It's actually an entire suite. So there is the stamp set, the dies, the designer series paper, there's a whole bunch of things that go with it, embellishments, all that good stuff. But this is the designer series paper, and it is 11 1/4 all the way across. Okay, this is scored at 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and then 9 and 10. Okay. And then we're going to fold these on the score line. And when I fold these, I'm really paying attention to the fact that I'm squared up over here and I'm squared up over here, because the last thing I want to do is have it, a little bit cattywampus. That's not going to make things show up quite well. So we're going to make sure that we are flush to either side, and then we're going to burnish it. And we're going to do that on each of the score lines. Okay, and then once we've got them all kind of burnished a little, we're going to do our every other fold. So we're going to start out with a valley, a mountain, a valley, a mountain, a valley, a mountain. That's going to create our drapery, but we want to have this kind of diagonal line across the bottom. And to do that, what I'm going to want to do is measure just a little bit down from the top. I believe it's an inch. Yeah, 1 inch down from the top. And then I'm going to make a little mark. So I'm just using the ruler on my grid paper. And then we're going to cut from way over here up to that one. Yeah, for some reason this looked wider than this, but I guess it's just once we get it down on the paper. But we're going to go from this first score line all the way up to this 1 inch mark up there. So I'm going to lay this in my trimmer. With it all kind of stretched out. With this score line down here in the track, and then that 1 inch mark in the track. And then I'm holding it still. If you have trouble holding it still, maybe you want to hold it down with Post-it notes or something. But we just want to slice all the way up. Okay, then as we fold this, That's where the magic comes in, because we get to see the back side of the designer series paper, which is giving us a contrast. Okay, then I want to hold it together. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of adhesive behind each one. Okay, and then I did that on the front. Yeah, but I'm also going to need to do it on the back. So I'm going to come back here and do these sections. Just kind of firmly holding that all together. Does anybody have any questions, like how we got this far? When I did my scoring, I actually did my scoring on the Simply Scored tool. Oops. I love this thing because it gives me the most accurate and straight lines, because as we score through here, it can't go to either side. It has to stay in the groove, and it has to stay in the groove that exactly is at the measurement that I want. So if you're ever creating anything like 3D or, boxes, anything where you really need it to line up, I highly recommend our Simply Scored tool. It does come with the stylus that has two different ends to it. There is the small end that you would use for cardstock, and then the fatter end that you would use for designer series paper. The reason they are different sizes is you don't want as deep of a groove on your designer series paper. You want this more rides on top, whereas the smaller one pushes all the way down in. And so you wouldn't want to be too rough with your designer series paper. So you'd use the fatter end. It also has this little compartment up here that opens up, and it stores all those little markers. So if, like when I'm making a card in a box, I frequently will use the same measurements, and make several of them at a time. So I can make sure that I put my little markers into the groove where I need it to be, especially when they're at like 1/8 of an inch, so that I know that I'm accurate every time that I use it. And then this stores down here at the bottom so I don't lose it. Of course, you can do the same kind of scoring with your trimmer. I mean, there are the two blades. There's the one that will do the scoring, and then the one that does the cutting. So you can see that's got the sharp, pointy blade on it, and then this has the more dull blade. I realize mine's a different color. Mine's a replacement that one of my team members got me. And then it has all the measurements down the side. And then mine has tear and tape behind it, so that if I ever have dark colored cardstock, I can still read the numbers, because it gives me the contrast that I need to be able to see those. And of course, you always want to butt things up at the bottom so that you know that you're being held straight, and then it will open up and extend out to 17 inches. Okay. Okay, so now back to our card. We're going to take that old olive layer, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to that. So I'm just giving it a little bit of adhesive where I really want it to stick. And then this is going to go clear from one corner to the next. So this is going to be the same size as the base, as this old olive layer. Okay, so it's going to flush up to the three sides, and then this is going to do our little tapering along here. Oh, wow, Karen, I'm sorry to hear that. There's fires in your area. That can be really scary. Okay, Janice is asking, how do I open the door to the scoring tool? Okay, what I did is I put my fingers underneath and I pushed up. So that's going to release this little tab up here. So then when I want to close it again, I'm going to bring it up tight with it raised above. And then I'm going to slide it back down. So the idea is you want to pop up. It'll go back on the hinges, and then you want to bring it back in and then slide it back down. So hopefully that helps. I wasn't too close to the camera. Wendy's asking if I can show it again. I don't know if that was a delayed response, but pop up from the bottom, like I'm pushing on this little bar right here. So this part is the door. Push it up and then roll it back. But that's the key, is that it has to go up before it rolls back. If you try to just pull it back straight, it's not going to work. And there's risking of breaking that door. We wouldn't want to do that. Okay, sorry. The comments are a little slow coming in, so I never know if I've demonstrated that yet or not. But I do try to check for comments and stuff throughout the video. Okay, now I want to put this onto my base. Okay, but I want to take and wrap that ribbon around there first, because that's going to be how I hide the fact that it's not shown on the back side. So that piece of ribbon wraps around this old olive layer and is buried in the back. So I'm going to take some of this time I'm going to use the Timid Tiger. And this is part of our faux linen ribbon. I really like this. It's nice and thin, and it tends to make a good bow. I'm going to use the bow maker tool. This is something I sell on my website. My husband makes them. But I'm going to wrap it around, leaving this on the roll. And I'm going to make what I call a cancer ribbon. That's the only way I know how to describe that. I've got the right side over the left, at a kind of making a cross or an X in the middle. And then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to feed it underneath so it's pulled out from the back. Then I'm going to lift it over the top and then tie a knot. Okay, and I'm pulling the tails of it straight across, because that's the way I want my knot to go. If I wanted my tails to hang low, then I would be tightening the knot by pulling them down at an angle. But because I want them to go straight across, I'm going to go that way. And then I'm going to lift it off, and there I have the perfect bow. Then, again, before I'm going to cut it off, I'm going to lay it on here. I'm going to see how much of this that I need. Then I'm going to just go over a little bit and snip. So now I'm not wasting any ribbon. Okay. And then you can choose to add a glue dot on the front if you want. Sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I won't. It depends on, I don't know how I'm feeling that day, I guess. But I definitely want to put glue dots on the back side, because the glue dots are a little bit thicker. They're kind of gummy. And so they're going to go up into the grooves of the ribbon and really give it a good hold. And then I can take and wrap it all the way around and adhere on the back. If I wanted to add one to the front, I would add it right here. And again, I'm going to take the glue dot and bring it down to my project. I don't know if you can see it's stuck, but there's our glue dot. And then I'm going to wrap this over and make sure that sticks. Then I'm going to come down to this end and I'm going to put one right there. Lay that over it and attach it on the back. Okay, so that's going to make sure that it stays good and straight and adhered. And then I can go ahead and attach this to my card front. And this is where you would decide if you wanted to leave it flat or if you wanted to raise it up on dimensionals. And then I tend to put, you know, some adhesive around the ribbon so I make sure that it's sticking. Making sure my card opens the right way. Now I can adhere it to the front. So this is a great card that could be quick and easy to send out. I pulled one of the drinks out of the designer series paper. There is one of the sheets in this pack that is nothing but a whole sheet full of various glasses full of different colored beverages, whether they be cocktails or mocktails, or I'm calling this one lemonade. And if they don't have the fruit in them, they will cut out with the dies. Because this one has the fruit, I didn't want to cut that off. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut it. But I'm okay with fussy cutting this one because it's really nice and simple. It's got all these straight lines. I mean, there is a little bit of curve to this. The trick would be to just make sure that you're turning your paper, not your scissors, keeping your hand nice and comfortable. And then that can go right there. I'm going to choose to pop this one up on dimensionals. That's why I didn't pop the base, because I prefer to only pop one layer of dimensionals. I know some other people will put, you know, dimensionals under here and dimensionals under that, and, you know, then again on top. But if you get too thick, it's not going to go through the postal service. You want to make sure that it's less than 1/4 of an inch thick, like overall. So that it doesn't require extra postage. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that there. And then I'm going to grab the stamp set. So here is our stamp set. And this is the shape that the dies are. They will cut out the regular glasses. There's also dies, of course, that cut out all these various things, but to cut out of the designer series paper, it would be these two. And I'm going to grab Cheers, which is right here. This is a lot of extra pieces I have in just a clear envelope that I have put on the inside. I'm lining this up on one of the grid lines, lining this up on a grid line. Now I'm going to set my card straight on a grid line. If you don't have the grid paper, you want some. I can't recommend this stuff enough. It not only keeps your desk clean, it helps you find the center of things. It keeps, you know, things straight. You can measure on it. You can create your wish list over here to the side, take notes. There's just so many things it's good for. Of course, there's also the glass mat, which I have underneath of this. When I try to film directly over the glass mat, there's a big glare. So there is that. And then I'm going to come in with, Let's Celebrate. Okay, and then you can either stamp in the corner or you can use these little pieces. Remember I said that I had cut this one out of the designer series paper. This one was actually on the edge of the designer series paper, so it didn't have the entire glass. It only had a partial glass, but I wanted to use it anyway. So I went ahead and saved it. That's going to be at the bottom. Let's see. See, here is our designer series paper. That's the sheet that I used. And you'll notice there's a bunch of them that have just the top of the drink or just the corner of the drink. So go ahead and use these, even though they're not totally complete. Say on the insides of your card. So once I do this, I kind of come back in and angle in because it's hard to turn the scissors to get around, up and around those for every single little section. So I kind of make a V going that way and then going this way. Of course, when I'm not on camera, I take a little more time. You can go this way and you can twist it. And it still does work, but I find that I tend to not get as close when I'm doing this because I'm afraid I'm going to cut something off that I don't want to cut off. And you can see these edges are more rounded than these, but you can come back in and round those edges after the fact. And remember, I'm being pretty persnickety here, but you really don't need to be with this because this has got a white background and I'm going to be putting it on white. So, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down this one. Again, butting it up to the edge. I'm using the liquid glue, so I have some wiggle time. I'll show you with this one. I'm not going to go in and out, in and out. I'm just going to kind of round around it. Okay, now this one, it cut off the bottom and it cut off the side. So it's going to go down there in the corner and make it look like that was done on purpose. See, so doesn't that decorate up the inside of the card nicely so that it all kind of coordinates? I think that's so fun. Okay, some of you may know there's a new catalog coming out soon. It is our September to December mini catalog, and it's going to have, you know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, all those good things in it. And if you want a copy of it, I need you to make sure that you are on my customer mailing list. If you don't know how to do that, let me know. It's the one through Stampin' Up. You have to be logged into your Stampin' Up account. Like, you go to stampinup.com, you log in, you choose me as your demonstrator, and then opt in for contact. That's very important, because if you don't opt in for contact, it doesn't allow me to select you to do the catalog mailing system. So make sure that that's done. And if you need to request a catalog from me, there is that option on my website on queedmecreations.net. There is in the menu bar an option under shop to ask for a catalog. So I can send that out to you. I want to thank those of you who do shop with me. That allows me to do a job that I absolutely love and continue to bring you all of this, quote, free content, because that's how I support myself. And I appreciate having a job that I love so much. Monday, we are back to fun fold cards, and we're going to do a double-decker card. So this has a kind of pop up in the middle of it. And then we're going to be working with the Impressions A Bloom bundle and the Floral Impressions Designer Series paper. So come back on Monday for that one. So thanks so much, and I really appreciate you. Thanks so much. Bye.